Fraud allegations in Minnesota, including child care centers, have led to so much happening in recent weeks. Facing scrutiny and jabs from the president, Governor Tim Walz dropped out of the 2026 election.
More and more federal agents arrived in Minnesota aiming to put an end to that fraud, and 2 Minnesotans lost their lives protesting ICE's actions. Amid all of that, the Trump administration announced it would be freezing federal child care funding to Minnesota as fraud investigations play out.
And while many feel that's an important step to weed out bad actors, some are also worried the freeze could put an even larger strain on a child care system already on edge.
And Northern News Now's Briggs LaSavage breaks down the expected impact and how all of this could play a role in the ongoing fight for affordable and accessible child care in Minnesota.
When Minnesota lawmakers head to the Capitol for the start of the legislative session February 17th, they'll be faced with complicated conversations on how to move forward on child care. I heard from local families, providers, and Northland lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. They all told me about what they hope will come out of the Capitol this spring as they deal with the impacts of fraud allegations at some Twin Cities area facilities and an impending freeze on federal funding.
Oh, wait. Here's Kay. Here's Kay.
If it isn't clear from playtime here at the Slayton house, Phoebe Slayton is invested in her kids.
That's R. You good? That's R.
We have a 2.5-year-old and a 10-month-old here.
You eating R?
And this Hermantown mom is also invested in her career.
H-I.
I work at Caravel Autism Health, working with kids on the spectrum from ages 3 to 7. I'm in my master's program to be a social worker.
With a schedule like that and a husband in the Coast Guard, finding childcare for these two was a necessity, but quickly became another investment.
Was more than our mortgage put together.
Even with military financial assistance, the Slaytons had to tighten their belts.
Not our hard work!
We made sure that we bought either in bulk or shopped the discount sections at Super One. I know there are a few times that I would give the bulk of my share of the food to my kiddos and I would scrounge for something. So
Slayton says eventually it was money from Minnesota's Child Care Assistance Program, also known as CCAP, that helped them out of the hole. But now word that the federal dollars sent to Minnesota that fund CCAP are frozen amid fraud allegations has her worried all over again.
I absolutely panicked. Honestly, I think what would have to happen is I would need to go on like a personal leave of absence from my work and pull my kids temporarily out of daycare.
It's going to put a huge strain on the whole community.
And while they haven't seen the impacts yet, Lisa Miller, director at Bubbling Brook Child Care Center on Rice Lake Road, is worried about the federal freeze too.
We already try to stay afloat. We're already pinching pennies and trying to make way with the funds that we get on a monthly basis.
Izzy does like freeze.
So it is making cuts and trying to figure out where those cuts can even happen. So it's, are you going to be providing food anymore? You know, is it going to be something that's going to have to fall on the families that are already struggling?
Nice big open space.
Those concerns are why DFL State Senator Grant Hochschild, representing much of northeastern Minnesota, toured Miller's Child Care Center recently, spending an afternoon with the dozens of kids her team cares for and learning how he could help at the state capitol this session.
If there is this cut at the federal level on CCAP, does that mean we have to shuffle other money at the state level from things like early learning scholarships or some of the compensation subsidies that we're trying to provide the child care workforce to try to bring up their wages? If we have to shift that money away from that to CCAP to make up for the federal freeze, all that does is hurt child care providers, hurt child care workforce, and make it unsustainable.
Even so, Hochschild says the recent fraud allegations must be taken seriously.
And it's ridiculous what is happening. I think we need to be diligent about, investigating, prosecuting, and putting in jail anyone who has stolen taxpayer money. But we also need to be conscious that we shouldn't just sort of damage everybody in the process based on what's happening.
A, B, C.
Republican State Rep Natalie Zalesnikar, representing Hermantown, agrees.
And I think it can happen.
Especially when it comes to protecting services in rural communities.
I mean, I think it's the story of two things can be true. You know, we have to deal with fraud wherever it is. and find out the facts, and then make sure we have systems in place to prevent it again, and then make sure that we don't delay payment for the ones who have abided by the rules.
Zalesnikar calling on her 3 decades of experience as a nursing home administrator.
The federal government is asking for the same records they asked for nursing homes and assisted living. Attendance tracking, surveys are happening. Are you delivering the care? Are you serving a client? Are you serving children? Are you doing that? Then payment should continue, in my opinion. But both have to be true.
And for Miller, that's part of the message she hopes gets across to lawmakers this session.
It's not everybody doing what happened. So making sure that we are being seen, our voices are being heard, that this is an industry that does need to be here in order for the rest of the community to continue to work.
Which one's G? Yeah. This one's G.
And back in the Slayton living room, beyond addressing fraud and restoring CCAP funding,
You eating our?
Slayton, who's spent time working in a daycare herself, has a few things she'd like to see happen to invest in childcare.
The childcare in Minnesota needs to up its game, allowing people to actually make a living wage working there, making sure that there's more grants for the in-home centers so they can hire more staff, making sure that there are specific grants for big centers to have so they're not taking up the little grants that the in-home ones may need.
That's F.
A lot of ideas floating around out there to help. When it comes to childcare affordability, Hochschild has also said he hopes to propose legislation that would limit the amount a family spends on childcare to between 7 and 10% of their income, and change state law to allow 2 families to hire 1 nanny, especially in rural areas where childcare accessibility is limited. And Zalesnikar hopes to increase the provider-child ratio for family childcare providers from 10 to 12 kids, as she says often needing to care for their own kids can prevent in-home providers from making any money. She's also working on reimbursements for child care centers that provide free child care for their employees. Those are all topics we will continue tracking when the session starts in a couple of weeks. In the studio, Briggs LaSavage, Northern News Now.
Thank you, Briggs. And the Hochschild added that there will be recommendations coming from the state's Department of Children, Youth and Families that are going to change the regulatory framework for child care providers. He says that's expected to be a big discussion at the legislature this year.